Coach Arnett is ready for your questions. We'll start here on the left side, second row.
Coach, Tyler Shaw with KBTX in College Station. What's kind of your message to the guys? I know this is kind of a tough way to start a head coaching career with the transition after Mike Leach, but what has your message been this offseason and after the bowl game and everything?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, when I became head coach, right, you looking back to December, right, we're right there at the end of the season, right, we got a bowl game upcoming, it's right before early signing day, right, and our players just lost their leader, their head coach, right, so at that time, we set three priorities. Obviously, number one was to be there for our players in any way necessary, right, provide whatever support and resources, make them available to them so they could get through that tragic time. We as coaches, obviously, we had a job to do. We're about a week before early signing day. We had a pretty good class committed at that time, and it could have very easily fallen apart. And so, credit to the coaches on staff, credit to the players in the locker room. It's often said your players are your best recruiters, right? Everyone in the program, hey, we got back into the homes of all the recruits, reinforced all those relationships and reasons why players and their families decided Mississippi State was the best place for them from the beginning, right? Obviously, Coach Leach was a big part of that, but he wasn't the only reason. And I'm proud to say we went on to sign a top 25 consensus recruiting class. And then obviously we had a football game to win, right? We had a bowl game in front of us. Now we're playing a really good Illinois team, right? We had a chance to win 9 games for the 4th time in the last 9 years as a program, and our guys just did that. They didn't listen to noise. They buckled down. They went to work. They knew the best way to honor Coach Leach was to show up as a prepared football team ready to compete and earn a hard-fought victory, and that's just what they did. So I'm proud of those guys for that. Now, a lot of these questions we've had 8 months to digest everything, right? And we know, guess what? We're going to roll the football out there. We're going to play football again, and there's going to be a winner and a loser. So our guys are ready to get to work and play football, right? I mean, it's tragic what happened to Coach Leach, and I certainly wish my head coaching tenure came under different circumstances. But Starkville, Mississippi is a special place. Mississippi State University is a special place, and they deserve to have a football team who's ready to line up and compete and who's prepared and win some football games, and that's what our job is to do. So as we go here to training camp, that's what we're all about. Let's get to work and let's line up. Let's play some football.
Left side, front row.
Chris Farble in KCOU 881 FM. So you spent the past 3 seasons as a defensive coordinator under Coach Leach. And Mike Leach, he's had a lot of assistants that have gone on to be head coaches. I was going to ask you, in the time you spent under Leach as defensive coordinator, what did he teach you, or what did he help mentor you about becoming a head coach when it comes to leading a locker room and leading a program?
I don't know if there's any one specific moment where, hey, he calls you in and he goes, all right, hey, listen, now you're going to get head coaching 101 lesson, right? That's not really the style. It's what you get to observe on a day-to-day basis. I've mentioned this before. There is a document that he reads with all of the staff as you go into every season, both off-season and in-season, right? Kind of your responsibility as a coach. That's what it's called, responsibility as a coach, right? And it's a career's worth of wisdom and advice on this is what you have to do as a coach if you're truly serving your players. And obviously that document, it's brilliant, but it still influences me to this day. We read it as a staff. There's a lot of wisdom in it that young coach, if you're smart enough, you'll just shut up and read it and learn as much as you can, because that guy's been pretty successful. He's done it a lot of different places, and he's won everywhere he's been.
Second row, and then pass the microphone forward.
Sounds good. Billy Jones, KCOU Columbia. I'm curious. You're one of the best young creative minds in the game defensively. I just wanted to pick your brain about something I saw that was interesting in your defense. It was in the spring game. It was a 2-by-1 set, 2 receivers at the boundary, H-back off the tackle. You countered that with 2 defensive linemen, played 1 backer basically 3 yards off the line of scrimmage, and then 3 more behind him. I'm curious, what went into, how did you scheme that up defensively, and what was the thinking behind that to counter that sort of offensive set?
Sounds to me like you're kind of a football junkie, huh?
I wouldn't go that far, but...
Yeah, you're going to like this answer then. First, that nice intro there, you want to make sure one of the brightest minds in football, really good players, right? Coaches have very little to do. When you got good players and they're executing and playing at a high level with the right intensity level and effort, it makes you a pretty good coach, right? It has very little to do with the scheme, okay? And you talk about that particular play. If you really watch the spring game, there's two defensive linemen out there for most of the game, right? And we got like a stand-up linebacker hybrid D lineman. I would love to sit here and tell you that, well, we found some weakness in the offensive scheme and this allowed us to do this really fancy exotic stuff. No, we happened to just have a lot of injuries on the D line. We didn't have enough bodies to play 3 D linemen on every snap, so we had to find another way, right? That's your job as a coach, find a way. And so at that particular time, we were thin on D linemen, and we had a number of linebackers who were available to go. And so we played 2 D linemen and 4 linebackers, but yeah, it wasn't anything special or unique about our game planning process. You got to play the cards you dealt, right? And so at that particular time, that's what we had, so that's what we played with.
Front row.
AP Stidham, AP and Kelly, as we see at syndicated radio. Coach, you're now the head coach. You were the defensive coordinator. You have the free reign. Are you going to see much differences with your defense? And then also the tight end will be back in Starkville, I guess. It's become in vogue to use that position in the last 10 years or so. What can we see from the tight end position in the Mississippi State offense?
Oh, I think, defensively, we're going to do whatever it takes to hopefully play good defense and keep the opposing offense out of the end zone, right? That's ultimately the goal. Whether that is aggressive and blitzing and playing man coverage, whether that is vanilla, playing more traditional and playing coverage first, who knows if it's even being in the 3-3-5, right? We're going to get the best 11 players on the field. So if that's 4 D linemen and 2 linebackers, we'll do that. Again, I'm the head coach now, but Matt Brock's the defensive coordinator, and he's spending a lot more time in that film room. Let's call it what it is. He's spending more time in there studying it than I am, right? That's why I had him call it in the bowl game, because I didn't think I was giving it the proper preparation in order to call a good game. I thought he would do a better job. And so we'll see when we line up the first week what our defense looks like. I'm sure it's going to be, largely much like it's been the last few years. And like you said, on offense, we do have guys in our program who are tight ends. Obviously, the tight end position is unique in that it creates longer edges in there in the box, right, which creates more gaps. It allows you to do some different run schemes, and then it opens up. And yet, he's still athletic enough to create plays in the passing game, right? It opens up some different pass protections, play action passes off of it, and so if that is what gives us the best chance to move the football and score points, then yeah, we'll have a tight end out there at times. If it doesn't, if it's better to have 4 receivers, then we'll be in 10 personnel. And we got pretty good running backs too, so it might be in 20.
Left side, third row.
Coach Keggs, TV in College Station. Will Rogers, the last couple of years, has had his way with A&M, honestly. I think over 730 yards, passing 6 TDs, no interceptions. Just what's he mean to your program as your quarterback?
Yeah, Will's done a lot of good things over the last several years, right? Versus a lot of people. It's pretty comforting to know you got a quarterback coming back who's got the most SEC starts of any quarterback in the league going into this season. All right, he's the SEC career completions record holder. I think he owns 29 different school passing records. I mean, the guy's a football guy. Right? And he is Mississippi State. He's a football guy. And simply put, right at the end of the year, he could have went in the transfer portal and he could have went anywhere in the country. Right? You see the way guys are getting recruited out of the portal. If they have any experience or game fill at all at the Division I level, they're pretty valued because experience is valuable, right? Age and maturity is valuable in this sport. And he didn't consider that once, right? And I think that speaks volumes. And a lot of guys in our program, not just Will, older guys who were impact players for us last year, right? They made a decision to come back. I think that speaks volumes about what they think about our program, right? The environment that we have inside our building and the trajectory that our program's on.
Front row.
Coach, of course, you have a new offensive coordinator this year in Kevin Barbay, who had one of the most efficient passing attacks last year at App State, and his offense was much more balanced in the air raid system under Leach. I was going to ask you, what's the offensive identity going to be this year? Of course, are we going to see something much different than we have in the past few years, or is it going to be somewhat similar, or do you think, just overall, what is the identity of the offense for 2023?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, actually, because that was my first question on the offensive coordinator interviews as we went throughout this process was, hey, what's the identity, right? What's the offense going to look like when it runs out there? And it was really refreshing to hear, but Kevin said, well, I can't give you that answer until I know who the best 11 players are, right? And that level of humility, that it is not about the coordinator, it is not about the scheme maybe that's happened other places. It is about identifying the best players and getting them on the field, because you're always best served having your best players on the field. And so obviously that process started in spring practice. It's going to continue on through training camp, right? You mentioned the places that Kevin's been. He's had some of the most efficient and explosive offenses. They've been really good at scoring points, moving the ball. And everywhere he's been, it's looked a little bit different, whether it be the same school from year to year or whether it changes school. Well, why is that? Well, because you got different players, right? You go to different school, you got different players. Every year you got guys coming and going, right, to graduation, new players coming in because of recruiting. And so every year you're going to have a little bit different identity because it is all about the players. All right, coaches and scheme don't influence players. Players influence and affect the scheme with which you run. So, I mean, I'm sure we're going to be a little bit more balanced because, let's be honest, I don't think there's a person in college football who throws the ball as much as Mike Leach when he's calling plays, right? So I'm sure we'll run the ball a little bit more. But getting our best players on the field, if that's 10 personnel, that's 10 personnel. If that's 11, if that's 11, right? I can promise you, air raid is not the only offense that runs Y cross or 95. It's called 4 verts, 3-level flood. Every offense in the country runs those. Just how they get to them is differently. Some do it in spread out sideline to sideline formations. Others do it in more condensed sets, traditional formations with a tight end. At the end of the day, you're trying to maximize and create space on offense and get the ball in your best player's hands.
Final question, right here.
Sure. You spoke about Will Rogers. I was curious about another guy in that quarterback room. Guy comes from just down the road, and Chris Parsons. What can you tell us about his development over the summer and the spring, and what we can look for from him in the future?
I mean, it's been evident why Chris was recruited in the first place, right? He's a really talented guy. Now, he was coming off a knee injury his senior year of high school, so he wasn't fully cleared for spring practice. Was able to do individual drills, throw some one-on-ones and some 7-on-7, but wasn't cleared for full contact, so couldn't do any of the live work, which obviously is a critical part of the evaluation process for a quarterback, because you got to feel that rush around you, how you maneuver in the pocket, get the ball out on time. But we could not be more excited for what he has shown so far. Obviously, he's fully cleared now, so he's full go in training camp. Love his demeanor. You can see he's kind of got that infectious personality. Guys kind of gravitate around him, which is what you want from your quarterback. And so to me, he's validated all the reasons why he was recruited and signed in the first place. And he's got a great opportunity now to get in that quarterback room, get behind a couple guys. Right? You talk about Will Rogers, the number of snaps and games he's played in this league. Well, Mike Wright's played a bunch of games in this league too, and he's got victories as an SEC starter. So he's got a couple older guys that he can really, lean on and talk to and get some words of wisdom and some advice on what it's like playing quarterback in this league, because the defenses are second to none, obviously.
Coach, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Hail State.